this is Drmcbrick and I'm here with a different kind of video. Today I want to give you some tips that I've learned from starting my own Lego city about 9 months ago. And I thought it would be good just to kind of go through a few tips and to talk about them for what they're worth. If any of you are thinking about getting a new city set up and going, I've only been doing this for 9 months now, since January, but it's really been very rewarding. Myself, my family, we've all just enjoyed doing these videos and building the city and playing with the city, to be honest. So I thought I'd give you a few tips on what to think about when you're designing or you're even thinking about starting a Lego city. So let's get started. Tip number 1, scope out your space. What space do you have available? As you can see here, I'm very lucky because I have my entire basement as my palette from which to work. Most people have smaller rooms. Most people might have 1 or 2 tables and they want to fit a small city on that. Or perhaps you have a floor. I know that several of these modulars were upstairs in our loft area on the carpet, on the floor, and that worked as well. But take a look and scope out what space you have. Is it a bedroom? Is it a closet? Is it 1 table? Is it 2? Is it a basement? Figure out what you have first, and that will start to dictate what type of city layout you're going to build. Tip number 2, what's your Lego set inventory like? Do you have sets waiting to be built? Here are some of the sets I have yet to be built, but I just don't have the tables for them yet. Once I get the tables, I'll build them. But before you build a city, you need to kind of check it out and say, okay, I have these modulars, I have these sets, I have this kind of stuff that I want to build. And that will give you an idea of how much you want to fit into the space that you have allocated to work in. Tip number 3, what type of parts do you have? As you see here, I have bins full of extra pieces and parts. These are just some of the materials I have to work with. The sets are great. You can build your sets, and that's all you need for a city as well. But chances are you want to add a little more detail to your city. The detail adds depth and texture to your city. So by having more parts, extra parts and pieces, whether you purchase them from Bricklink or tear apart other sets, that sort of thing, that is very important to planning your city. Let's talk about tables. Tables are important. Now, you may not have the luxury of going out and buying custom tables or new tables for your city. However, if you do have that option, we recommend the Ikea tables. They're cheap, anywhere between $20 to $24 US. They come with the 4 screw-in legs and all different sizes. We like the 24 by 39.5 inch tables. They're perfect for a city setup, as you can see. They come in sections, and then that way we can take sections, we can move them around. You do have 8,972 legs underneath once you put all the tables next to each other, but it adds up fast with four legs per table, obviously. But you can move the tables around, and as you see here, we're going to put more tables back there. We'll put some tables here. We put a table here on the side. So there's all different kinds of configurations. I mean, we have ours in a U at the moment, so we can get in there and move, but we'll probably put a few tables as we build the city and stuff. Tables are important, and tables have to be able to support the weight of all of those bricks. Get a comfortable chair. This is not one. You will be sitting on the chair building Legos for hours and hours, maybe days, maybe weeks, maybe months, years, decades. Get a comfortable chair. This is not a comfortable chair. The next tip, develop a story. We had been bantering around what type of name we wanted for our city, and one night about 1 a.m., my stepson Adrian comes barging into the bedroom and says, "I know what we're going to call it, Figsdale." And sure enough, that name stuck. We developed a story for our town. Our town was developed in the early 1900s, as witnessed by much of the architecture. The first modular we had was this 1932 fire station. And then Adrian collected some modulars, I collected some modulars, and we just kind of added on. But remember, we as human beings are story-driven people. Our video games, our films, our music, all aspects of our life, our art, literature, comic books, everything we do is story-driven. The products that we buy, everything has a story. Lego's great at making stories with their sets. So I encourage you, as you're developing your town, to think about the story that your town has. What do your figs do? What types of things do your figs want? What do they want for their city? What types of things excite your figs? What types of things make your mini figs mad? Think about your story, because it's within your story that your city will thrive, that people will love to look at your city, that you'll love to play and build your city, and ultimately, the story that you create for your city will be yours and yours alone. Okay, so now we've built a bunch of sets and we have our city going up. One of the things that I would recommend, and I've found just from all the videos that I've watched on YouTube and also just from my own experience, is build these beautiful sets. Lego makes such great sets. Like these two houses here are wonderful sets. But I would encourage you to start to think about adding texture and detail to your sets. Now in this set particular, it came with a lawnmower, but it didn't come with any grass. On the Lego store, our local Lego stores, Pick a Brick wall, there was a whole box, a bin of grass, so I got a cupful and I added it to this set here. Very simple, didn't cost me hardly anything, but it makes this particular set more detailed and more texture driven. And I think that's one of the things that you can do to add some real depth to your sets. In talking of depth and texture, it's really important to add a lot of green texture, a lot of living type of textures and depths. So as you see here, I have some trees, I have a walkway and some plants, things of that nature. Again, no pun intended, but it's nature, right? It's natural. The reason being is because we have a lot of brick sets, and so there's a lot of brick and a lot of plastic around, right? That's gray and blue and brown and all that kind of stuff. Add some life to it by adding some trees and adding some greenery with the texture of the plant type of material that you can put around. Even just some green, and there's some nice water you can do as well, but even some nice green plates and things like that of different green colors and different hues, that will help your city as well. So adding texture in real life plant type of material will really make your city come alive. And ultimately, every place we live, right, has living and plant type stuff. So don't forget to add that type of stuff into your city. The next tip, mock it up. Don't be afraid to get experimental and build mocks. My own creations are the lifeblood of Lego in a lot of ways. All those bricks that we have sitting in those containers would go to waste if we didn't try to build something out of them. So right here you see our Taco Tuesday mock. It's a Mexican restaurant that we built. And don't be afraid, build what you want. There's a little outhouse over there that Adrian built just because he thought it would look really cool. Don't be afraid to build city buildings that aren't necessarily in sets. That's one of the great things about Lego, is you can build whatever you want to build. The next tip is use the square base plates. The base plates come in particular sizes, right? The 32 by 32 base plates. If you try to stay with 32 by 32 base plates, as you can see, we have one here, and we keep going with the base plates. That will help you tremendously in lining things up. If you want to use the large gray base plates, as you see right back there, you're going to have a little overage with your green base plates. So it's something that you need to think about, and to be honest, it all comes down to math. So I hope you studied in math, because you can fit everything together, but most things come on a 32 by 32 base plate or a 32 by 16 base plate. So, they're all different variations, but I would recommend highly that you use the 32 by 32 and just get a bunch of those and just kind of just put them down, and then build everything around it. Some people like to use the big 48 by 48 base plates. Those are nice. We had a few, so we threw some in here. But then once we did that, it kind of throws things off, and you have to adjust for it. So I recommend using the 32 by 32. The next tip is populate your city. Use the minifigures you have and make them do something. Make them do something around town. As you see here, we try to put minifigures doing all kinds of things in our city so that when we do our videos or when we take pictures and things like that, there's all kinds of activity going on. That is so important. It's so very important to make your city come alive. Don't be afraid to use every single minifigure you own. And finally, if you're building a city, especially if you're going to be showing the city on YouTube or taking pictures of it for Instagram or something, one of the things that I found important is developing some consistency. And what that means is keeping some things constant and changing up other things. A kind of a set of rules that govern the city. One of our rules, for instance, is that we always have this main drag right here, the same buildings in the same order. The reason we do that is because we like to think of our city, again, as a story, and that was the original Main Street. So that will never change. Everything else will be new around it, but that won't change. Some other things to think about are base plates. Do you want to use off-brand base plates because they cost so much to buy them from Lego? Or do you want to use the real Lego base plates? Do you want to use sets from non-Lego sets? Or do you want to use all Lego sets? Is it okay to do certain things in your city or not? Another thing that we do that we really kind of pride ourselves into is, and I don't know if any of you have noticed out there, but when we take our city update videos, we change things around. We don't keep our minifigs in the same spot. For instance, those boats right there weren't in the last video we did. The whale was actually jumping out of the water in the last video. Now the whale is down swimming. We try to change our figs up. We try to change the car's positions. We try to change things. There's a garbage truck. That wasn't in the last video, but it's garbage day now, so they're taking out the garbage. We just try to do little things like that to make it entertaining for the viewer, and also to make it entertaining for us. Now, some folks like to just have kind of their city display, and they don't necessarily have the time to change things up every time they take a video. But we like to do that. We also like to place some goofy things like chickens or photobomb type stuff in our videos. So anyway, just develop some sort of philosophy about your city. Have fun with it. It's your city. Do with it what you want. It's up to you. It can be as crazy and as goofy as you want, or it can be as regimented as you want. That's about all I have. Happy building and enjoy creating your city. This is Dr. McBrick signing out.